I own a lot of books, and a lot of these books are unread. Now, I love having my own library and a good stack of unread books, but when we take a deep dive into my shelves, I have books that have been on my shelves for so long, they are literally collecting dust, including books that could potentially be a 5-star favorite, but I just haven't read them yet. This series is not me going on a book buying ban, though I probably should. It is not me unhauling hundreds of books for the sake of shrinking my TBR. It is, however, giving the forgotten books a chance to become a favorite. Figuring out if certain books deserve to take up space on my shelves. I'll be using a TBR jar to select 3 books, and once the books have been chosen, I have 2 weeks to get them read. If I fail to read the books, they must be unhauled. The end goal of this challenge is to have shelves crammed with favorites, books that I will want to reread, share with my friends, or even pass down to my kids one day. I'm also giving myself the rule that if the book doesn't fit that criteria, it must also be unhauled. In the end, ideally, I'd like my physical TBR to be able to fit on this cart. So we have some work to do. Welcome to my bookshelf ultimatum. We're back with another episode of Bookshelf Ultimatum. It's been a hot minute because I've been enjoying doing the read it or unhaul it types of videos, which are the same as this. It's like the same rules go, except those I pick my books, and this one the jar chooses for me. And it could lead to finding a favorite book that I didn't even know was going to be a favorite, or it could lead to me unhauling all the books in today's episode. I guess only time will tell. So, without further ado, let's choose our first book. I would say, universe, give me a cute little summer rom-com. But listen, I barely have any of those on my shelf. I highly doubt that's gonna happen. Oh, definitely not a summer rom-com. So we are gonna be reading Any Man by Amber Tamblyn. Funny story, I actually started this book, I don't know, maybe like 2 years ago. I even was annotating it because there were some things in here I was just needing to underline. I'm gonna show you the last annotation in this book. So, whoop, sorry I kicked you. So it's like right there underlined. Why did I not finish it? Why did I not finish it? So we're gonna read this today, or in this vlog. Okay, so let's pick our second book. Okay, be good to me, jar. Be good to me. I am sweating. Why is it so hot in my house? It's not even hot in my house, actually. Why am I just hot all the time? Say Everything. This, I believe, is a memoir. This one was actually sent to me. I almost got rid of it because I was like, I don't know who this person is. But then I read the synopsis, and it is an actress that plays in the movie titled Say Anything. I love 80s rom-com type movies, and that's the reason why I held on to this. The thing is with memoirs, I typically truly have to really like the person to even pick up the memoir, unless it's like sent to me. So we're gonna give it a go. So maybe we'll read the book, and if we get through it without unhauling it, maybe I'll also watch the movie again for the first time in probably like 20 years. Are you f***ing kidding me? I need a new jar. Pick them up. It's definitely me. I was already sweating before I turned the camera on because I live in the asshole part of Texas where it's really hot and humid. And now that just made it worse. The lid is fully closed. Shake again. Probably gonna pull out some random strands of dog hair now because, you know, the perks of being a dog owner and pulling things up. This is probably the good thing about these types of videos, because it will pull books that, had it not pulled this book probably would stay on my TBR for the next 10 years. I'm not kidding you, because this is probably one of the most, not most intimidating books on my TBR, but also it is because it's a classic. Let me show you so you can see. We are reading Wuthering Heights in this. Here she is. She's beauty. She's great. Is this about vampires? There's no vampires in this book, huh? Why does it give a vampire? Isn't this the book that is constantly talked about in Twilight? I don't even know what the synopsis of this book is. I've never seen an adaptation. I'm assuming there is an adaptation. I've never seen one. Same with Pride and Prejudice. I steer clear at all costs because I'm just waiting for the perfect opportunity to pick it up and read it. We're gonna save this for last, okay? I'm really excited about this. Anyway, I need to redo my nails today because they keep, like, you know when you are washing, this is gel nails, but it also happens if you do like acrylic and dip and whatever, but when you're washing your hair and strands of hair get caught underneath the nail, yeah, it's time for them to be redone. So I'm gonna see if I can't find an audiobook for either Say Everything or Any Man and go eat lunch because I'm hungry and then do my nails. That's what I'm gonna do. You know what? I'm gonna use my husband's Spotify hours because why not? Okay, so I started with Any Man by Amber Tamblyn. I decided to go ahead and pick this one up on audio because I read quite a bit of this back in the day, and as I was flipping through it and reading some of my annotations, I remember now I read this for somebody's book club and I just never finished it on time. And because I never finished it on time, we had the discussion of the book and then I just never picked it back up again. I don't know. That's the old Beth. The new Beth's about to read it or finish reading it. I'm rereading it. Whatever. Anyway, you get it. I'm going to read you just a portion of the back here so you can kind of understand what this book is about. In this electric and provocative debut novel, Amber Tamblyn blends genres of poetry and prose with elements of suspense to give shape to the shocking narratives of victims of SV and maps the destructive ways in which society perpetuates great culture. So there's a woman, the people are calling her Maud, who's going around and violently essaying men. The very first part, because it's in parts and every part is a different victim's perspective. The first part, we are in a man named Donald. We're in his perspective. So it's like part one. And then immediately it starts with just one sentences on pages. It's like, where am I? Am I in a body? What is this feeling? Where's my tongue? Just different things like that. His tongue is there. He's in a hospital after being violently attacked. It's very heartbreaking to read about. It's very heartbreaking. Just know that. He has to deal with the fact that he has two kids that are in school and their classmates are hearing about his attacks and talking to them about it, and their classmates are saying things like, your dad's a man, men can't get raped, things like that. And it's just, and then his little boy was like, I had to Google to even know what that word meant. It's just heartbreaking. So at the very end of part one, he like walks into the living room and his wife is watching TV and they're watching the news and another victim has been found. It immediately switches to that victim's perspective, but different. So that victim, his name is Jamar, and let me find it. His chapter is just what's on his computer. So it's like he's chatting with someone, then like here it says like, new tab, Google, Empire Wine and Spirit, order for delivery, 112 pack, blah, blah, blah. Close tab, new tab, MLB.com, article, the most overrated in MLB history. Like it's literally just what's happening on his computer. So we don't necessarily get his full perspective. So the first guy, Maud, finds him at a bar. The second guy, she does online dating and finds him through there. And now I am currently in the perspective of the third guy. And this is where I started annotating. So I didn't annotate through either of the first two. But I guess when I got to the third part, that's when I was like, oh, let me grab a pen. Because that's where the annotations started coming in, because it starts getting even darker than that. So the third guy is a like 65-year-old-ish comedian, and essentially he is using his little bits and skits to kind of cope with the trauma that he went through. And he also talks about, like, he goes to meetings and he mentions other victims that are there at the meetings as well, that has gone through what he has gone through, and just talking more about society's opinions on the whole situation and how it's not the norm, you know, this doesn't happen to men. Or there was an email, actually, I want to say it was with Donald the teacher. Let me see if I can find it. So it's with Donald the teacher and a lady from like a talk show, a producer of the Melissa Hope show on BCN. She's asking him to go on the show so they can talk about everything. And he's like, I'd rather discuss the culture surrounding SA and how few men report being SA'd, but also how few women are actually believed. That's what I'd rather talk about. This is what she responds with. Glad to hear back from you, Donald. Why don't we just go ahead and confirm your participation, and you can always pull out if you need to. Hee hee, no pun intended. He literally lost his penis in the attack. Like, it's there, or part of it's still there, but he can't even pee. He has to have a catheter for the rest of his life, and you have the audacity to reply with that? My jaw was literally on the floor. You should probably pick it up and read it. Okay, I'm gonna continue listening to the audiobook while I paint this hand, and then I am going to, this is what I love about gel polish, is like, once you cure it, you can touch it. So I'm done with the book, Annie-Man, and let me just tell you what, first off, the writing in this book, spectacular. Spectacular. I did look into this author to see what other books she wrote, and I believe she's literally just a poet. She's just a poet besides this book. I could be wrong, but that's just from my little Google search. Let's get into my rating, because I feel like that's what you're here for. You want to know, do I recommend this book or not? I couldn't really go into detail on discussing like what's going on in this, that, and the other, because I fear the video would get taken down because of the content that is in this book. I can't give this book a 5-star, even though it has 5-star potential. And I'm gonna say that because I do think this is a really good book, and I feel like a lot of people, if you can handle the triggers, should read it. But it doesn't get a 5-star for me, and I'm gonna be super picky and it's like a personal thing for me, because hear me out, when I read books, I like closure, like fictional closure, you know what I mean? I don't like the ambiguous endings. I don't like that, and that's not really a spoiler for this, because I feel like it says here on the back, you know, let's talk about the victims and their side of the story. And I get that Maud is just more like a representation versus a real person. Maud symbolizes the unspoken violence in society that is often dismissed or ignored. And the whole point of the book is not to, you know, put a spotlight on the actual villain of the story, but it is to show you the victims and their survival and the failure of systems that should protect them. Like, I get it, I do. And I know that this is not like your typical crime book because of that. It's just, I felt like I read an incomplete story. I get where she was going, and I understand it, but just my taste in books, I personally prefer closure. I want the bad guy to be caught. So that's the only reason why I couldn't really give a 5-star, but it's a 4.5, which is pretty fucking close to a 5-star. Do I recommend this book? Absolutely. If you can handle the triggers, look up the trigger warnings. There is a lot. Do not tread lightly. Do not tread lightly. It's a good one though. It is a good one. So on to the next book. I said I was gonna save Wuthering Heights for last, and I still am gonna save it for last because I feel like it's gonna take me the long. I don't know why I am just so intimidated by classics. It is what it is. And I was sitting here thinking, like, what classics have I read anyway? So in high school, we read like some passages of Romeo and Juliet. We never really read the entire play. We read a lot of poetry and like Edgar Allan Poe and stuff. A lot of the things were just pieces of literature that our teachers would pass out, not full books, but just like little pamphlets of pieces of stuff, and we would have to like analyze and whatever. Unless it was assigned to us and I just didn't do it and I just used my context clues to figure it out. I don't know. I was a really good student and I made mostly A's. So like it worked then. I did read The Outsiders in another Bookshelf Ultimatum vlog. So that's like the only classic that I've read outside of school. I have read To Kill a Mockingbird in middle school. You know, where like we would sit down and the teacher would play the audiobook and we would just follow along. I did read it in middle school. Do I remember it? No. So it's not in the Bookshelf Ultimatum jar though, even though I have it on my shelf, because technically I've read it, but I probably should reread it one day. So that's why I'm so intimidated by classics, you know? I did read The Outsiders, but I would say Wuthering Heights is a different time, you know? So am I too stupid to understand is the question. I guess we will see later on in this vlog, but for now, I'm not even gonna get up and get it because I am so lazy. I'm gonna put it right here. My kids are loud, sorry about that. No, I'm not sorry. Say Everything is what it's called. And I was just sitting here before I turned on the camera, reading the synopsis of it on Goodreads because I'm about to add it to my currently reading shelf. It talks about a lot of celebrities in the synopsis, which I love celebrity gossip. However, I love celebrity gossip of celebrities that I am familiar with. So when I read the Jessica Simpson memoir, juicy gossip in that one. Or even the Britney Spears one, juicy. But this one, so we talk about, is her name Ion Sky? Is that how you pronounce it? Don't know. It also talks about the lead singer of the Red Hot Chili Peppers. I never knew his name, but if he like walked through my front door, I would know who he was, but I just didn't know his name. Also, it has like Beastie Boy Adam Horovitz. Don't know him. I know some Beastie Boy songs, but that's about it. Like most of these celebrities, I'm not familiar with. Even John Cusack. Like I know who he is, but I don't know nothing about him. Does that make sense? I don't know. I feel like this probably would be a memoir if my mom were to still be alive for her to read, because I know of the Red Hot Chili Peppers by listening to it as a child, because that's the type of music that I was raised up with because my parents listened to that. Yeah, so I feel like if you're big time into 80s pop culture, this might be a book for you to dive on into, but we're gonna give it a go. I'm gonna give it a go, and then if we make it to the end, maybe I'll wrap it on up by watching Say Anything, because I haven't seen that since I was a kid. I'm gonna start it on audio because, you know, if a memoir is read by the person who wrote said memoir, why would you not choose the audiobook version? See, what happened was I read the prologue. I read chapter 1. I am in the middle of chapter 2, and I just don't think I am the right audience for this book, in the sense that I don't know anybody that she's talking about in here, and she's talking about them as if I'm supposed to know who they are, and I don't. I'm not interested in it because it's not written like a fictional book. There's not like a ton of information to like let me know who's who, and also it's not written like a fictional book, i.e. it's kind of boring, i.e. there's no plot. I think if I was a full-on fan of hers, I would be invested. I think if I was born a decade before I was born, I probably would be invested. Because when I was reading the Jessica Simpson memoir, the Matthew McConaughey memoir, the Britney Spears memoir, the Will Smith memoir, it was like I knew who they were talking about because I followed those other people like in my magazines when I was a kid and stuff. You know what I mean? I hope you know what I mean. For instance, in one of these chapters, she calls a friend over to her house and she's like, she's XYZ's daughter. And I'm like, I don't even know who XYZ is. And I know, I gotta sneeze. Don't look at me, I'm ugly when I sneeze. Okay, I know I can pull out my phone and Google it, but I don't want to have to do that the whole book. I don't care. I don't give a single fuck about a single person in this book, at least the ones that we've met so far. And I don't, you know, it's not for me. That's, you know, short story long, I don't think this book is for me. And I thought to myself, Beth, would you be upset if you had to unhaul this book? Absolutely not. You know what? I'm going to let you in on a little secret. I didn't even buy the book. The book was sent to me unsolicited. And so I was like, let me keep it. And here we are. Okay. So I think I'm going to go ahead, don't come at me, but I'm going to go ahead and DNF the book. Now, I kind of still want to watch the movie just because I haven't seen the movie since I was a kid. Look, listen, the other day, but when I say the other day, it can mean any day in the past. It can mean 5 years ago. But the other day, after I finished reading the B.K. Borgeson book, First Time Caller, which I loved, I decided to watch Sleepless in Seattle, in which I hadn't seen Sleepless in Seattle in a long time. I don't watch movies really now as an adult, so I don't ever just like pick time to just sit down and watch a movie, because if I'm going to sit down and do something, it's either going to be sit down and read or sit down and scroll. Then when I was done with it, I was like, well, let me just go ahead and continue on and watch You've Got Mail. So then I was watching You've Got Mail. I didn't even finish it. I turned it off because I didn't realize, and I've watched You've Got Mail way more than I watched Sleepless in Seattle. But the thing was, is I didn't remember or recall that there was cheating in You've Got Mail. You know what I mean? Because both Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan were in relationships when they were messaging each other. And you're like, that's okay. Okay. When her man walked into the room, she slammed her computer shut. Sus. So then also they were both in relationships when they agreed to meet up at a coffee shop. They were both in relationships secretly talking to other people. And I stopped the movie and I know and I understand that those relationships end. But at the same time, I'm like, that doesn't make it right. That doesn't make it right. What if I watch Say Anything and now that I'm a grown adult, it doesn't hit like it used to? That's what I'm scared of, because now You've Got Mail, I'm just like, that's, if my husband were to be privately messaging another woman and even agreeing to meet up with her at a coffee shop while he's in a relationship with me, I don't care if you pulled your little dangling out your pants. That's cheating. Okay? Enough said. I kind of want to watch Say Anything and see if it holds up. I don't know.
I love Mr. Carroll. No, it's also phony.
So watching the movie definitely helped solidify my decision to DNF the book. I'm sorry, but she's not that great of an actress. And she was kind of getting on my nerves. And I don't care. I do not care. I don't care to know. My face looks a little rough because I just got done doing my skincare, so it's fine. I almost got dressed for the day. But it is almost 3 p.m. So we're just going to dodge that whole bullet. I put on my jams and we're going to move on with our day and our time. While watching this movie and while I was watching Sleepless in Seattle and You've Got Mail, the entire time I'm just looking at the home decor because I don't know what it is. I am so attracted to the home decor in the late 80s and early 90s. I'm talking like floral curtains. Look at this. Look up here. Let me show you. Hello. And then I even have my own floral curtains now. We're all about it. And actually, my husband messaged me this morning and is like, my boss is getting rid of this. Do you want it? And it's a hutch. And I'm like, you know what? Yes, I kind of do. Go ahead and bring it on. I don't know how he's gonna get it here because it looks big, but whatever, it is what it is. But now I get to go thrifting for like some vintage plates and stuff to put in there. It's gonna be a fun time. Okay, so that being said, I'm DNFing it and I have zero regrets and it is fine. And now it is time to read the last book of this vlog. And I am so nervous about that. I don't even know why. I do know why. I don't think my battery's about to die. I don't think but maybe I can prove myself wrong. Let me change my battery. I did just go to Google and, figure out some of the main characters from the book. So we have Mr. Earnshaw, Hindley, Hareton, Heathcliff. Heathcliff, I've heard the name before, but I had no idea where it came from. Wuthering Heights. And then Catherine. Had no idea that was the FMC's name, but here we are. I did like just a little character thing. This could just open some new doors for me if I love this. It might boost my confidence to pick up other classic books. We just finished with chapter 1. Yes. Am I gonna go chapter by chapter? No. I need to talk this out so that I also can understand this a little better. Wuthering Heights, chapter 1. We are in the perspective of a male named Mr. Lockwood. I don't know why going into this I thought we were going to be in the perspective of, I don't know, Catherine, but no, we are in the perspective of Mr. Lockwood. Mr. Lockwood is residing at an estate called Thrushcross Grange. It is about 4 miles away from Wuthering Heights, which is the name of another estate at which Heathcliff resides. Heathcliff is the landlord to Mr. Lockwood, who was renting out, I guess, Thrushcross Grange. Okay, so those are the 2 estates. Lockwood gets there, he's on horseback, whatever. He then tries to interact with Heathcliff, and though Lockwood states Heathcliff is a very attractive man, apparently, Heathcliff also is not that nice. He seems kind of like very standoffish, I guess you would say. Heathcliff, it even says like with gritted teeth or whatever, he winds up inviting Lockwood into his house for wine, and so they get into the house and they're just kind of chit-chatting and whatever, and Lockwood decides that he might go and visit him tomorrow. Okay, wait a minute. Is Catherine dead? Like in present day, is she dead? Because the way he talked about her, I was kind of thinking like maybe she's dead. I don't know if I'm gonna like this. So we have Lockwood, okay? I just finished chapter 2. I'm literally only on page 19. I just finished chapter 2. I'm having to break this down, and I feel like talking it out loud is helping me do that. So, chapter 2. Lockwood goes back to Wuthering Heights, okay? He takes that 4-mile trek back to Wuthering Heights. On his way there, it starts snowing. That one sign, turn your ass around and go back home. But he didn't listen to that sign, so he kept going. He gets to the gate of the estate of Wuthering Heights. It is locked. Sign 2, turn your ass around, go back home. He didn't. He jumps the gate, okay? Walks up to the manor, bangs on the door. Bangs, 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 to the point where nobody answers the door. After all that banging, nobody still answers the door. And he's getting pissed off. Until finally, which that should have been sign number 3 to turn your ass back home, but he didn't. Finally, Joseph, okay, it's an old man that like works there, is like, yo, Heathcliff ain't home, therefore I'm not opening the door. But you can go around back where the other people are. And so Lockwood's like, bet. And he goes on around back to where the other people are. And so he gets into the place to where he had his little wine drink with Heathcliff the day before. And there's a woman there. Joseph calls her Mrs. So Lockwood assumes that this is Mrs. Heathcliff, Heathcliff's wife. But it's not. Come to find out, it is Heathcliff's daughter-in-law. And so he's like, okay, where's your son? Is this your son? No, it's not his son. Come to find out, his son is dead. He doesn't get along with his daughter-in-law, but they still live under the same roof. There's also another member of the family there as well. All living under the same roof. None of them really get along. I believe we're going to learn more about that later on in the story. So then time ticks by, and they're like, you know what, you need to go home. It's like, it's getting late. The snow is getting thick. You need to go home. And he's like, I don't remember how to get home, and especially with all the snow covering everything up. What if I'm wound up dead in a bog? Like, what's going to happen? Can you please tell me how to get home? He winds up getting overworked, right? So he's up and leaving, but he got so overworked and so pissed off to the point where he got a nosebleed. Okay, that's when you know your blood pressure is through the roof. He got a nosebleed. So then they're like, you know what? I guess you could stay here, but you're going to have to sleep in the bed with somebody because you are a stranger and we don't trust you. And that's where we're at right now. From my understanding, throughout this book, we are going to be told stories, I believe, by a housemaid, because when I was writing my characters down earlier, I didn't really Google anything except for the characters. So I have no idea if Catherine is dead in present day. It sounds like it is. She is. But I don't know. That's also not a spoiler. I'm literally in chapter 2. Okay, so I'm not going to give you any major spoilers, just so you know. But that's just me guessing, because it didn't really... It kind of said, because he was like... The way that it... I don't know. Let me find... Hang on. What was I doing with the character situation? So when I was writing my characters down... Are you still with me? When I was writing my characters down, I have Heathcliff and then Catherine Earnshaw. They grew up together at Wuthering Heights. That's what I have at the top. Then I have Mr. Earnshaw, which is Catherine's father. And then Hindley Earnshaw, which is Catherine's brother. And then Hareton, which is a later generation Earnshaw. That is one of the people that was there in chapter 2, right? He was at the table. And none of them really get along. So that's later on. Present day, 1801. You get it. Okay. Then we have the Thrushcross Grange family. We haven't met any of them. So I'm assuming they're going to come into play when we get the stories of how Catherine and Heathcliff fell in love. I don't know, but I have Edgar Linton, Isabella Linton, which is Edgar's sister, and then Kathy Linton, which is a later generation. So I'm going to assume that she's going to be more so in the present day story. I don't know. Then we have Nellie Dean, who is the housekeeper and our main narrator. I haven't gotten the perspective of Nellie Dean. The first 2 chapters that I have read so far are in Mr. Lockwood's perspective, and he is the new tenant at Thrushcross Grange. I really need to write a little better. So, Kaiser snoring. I can't even read my own handwriting. Okay, so that's what I have. So I kind of like got my synopsis from knowing that we have a housekeeper who is the main narrator. Mr. Lockwood is our outside perspective person. So I don't think we get the actual perspective of Heathcliff and Catherine. But let me find the little sentence that I said. And I could have misinterpreted this. And I don't want to Google to see if she is dead because I don't want to spoil anything, you know. That's why I'm terrified to like really Google an easy synopsis to understand. Okay, so here's the little part that, okay, just forgive me if I mispronounce any words because, right. Mrs. Heathcliff, your wife, I mean. Well, yes. Oh, you would intimate that her spirit has taken the post of ministering angel and guards the fortunes of Wuthering Heights even when her body is gone. Is that it? That's why I am assuming she's dead. Did I misinterpret that? Or is she dead? This can't be a vampire book, can it? It's not a vampire book. It's giving vampire. The cover is giving vampire. The scene that I'm reading about with the window situation at nighttime is giving vampire, especially with Catherine saying, "Let me in. Let me in. I've been waiting for 20 years, damn it. Let me in." And he doesn't let her in because, listen, this is what happened, right? So Lockwood is still staying at Wuthering Heights estate. So they bring him up to this little room. He gets there. First and foremost, why does Catherine have multiple different last names? So it's Catherine Earnshaw, Catherine Heathcliff, Catherine Linton. So there's 3 different last names. What's going on? Did Miss Girl get married twice? Where is she? Why is she standing? So I don't know if he was having a nightmare. So listen, he did have a nightmare. He did. And he woke up from said nightmare because he heard branches hitting the window. So he goes over to the window, opens the window to stop the branches from hitting the window. He reaches out to grab the branch and it's an arm. It's an arm and it is Miss Catherine. Okay? And she's saying, "Let me in. Let me in." And he says, "Who are you?" And she says, "Catherine Linton." Catherine Linton, it replied. It replied. Why is it an it? You know what I'm saying? Still it wailed, "Let me in," and maintained its tenacious gripe, almost maddening me with fear. What are we talking about? Is it a vampire? Because it can't be a vampire. Is it a ghost? Is he upstairs? I'm assuming that Wuthering Heights Estate's big and it's like, yes, he's upstairs because he talked about going upstairs. So if it's a human, how are they standing outside the window? Made it to chapter 7. I'm gonna go and make myself some lunch. Because it's already 1 o'clock. I really wanted to finish this book today, but I fear that I'm not going to because it is taking me a little longer to get through it. And I also slept in this morning and also had to like make time for my cardio and then to shower and blah, 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 blah. You get it? Anyway, I made it to chapter 7 and we've already gotten a couple of chapters in Nellie's perspective. So Nellie has been like the housemaid type person for the Thrushcross Grange estate. is that what it's called? I should have brought my notes. For 18 years. And so she has seen Heathcliff and Catherine grow up and develop relationships or feelings or whatever. Like, she has seen it. And so now she's telling Lockwood all about it. And she kind of clarifies who the people in the Wuthering Heights estate are for him, because he did have it a little bit confused, which had me a little bit confused. So we saw Heathcliff as he came to the estate with Mr. Earnshaw when he was a child, and how the brother didn't really like Heathcliff, especially because he got really close to Mr. Earnshaw, and then also the sister Catherine got close to Heathcliff, and I believe the mother did as well. But now the chapters that I am in, the parents have since passed away, and the brother has came back from college with a wife, so he has now taken over as like head of household for the Wuthering Heights estate. He also forbids Heathcliff like from going to college and stuff, or school, so that's kind of rude of him. So far, they haven't really fallen in love or anything. They're just like really close with each other, and they're still very young. So I don't know, like, what's the plot? You know what I mean? I don't know what the plot is, but I feel like there's going to be some twists and turns, because I don't know. And yeah. So tell me why. So listen, let me back up a little bit to chapter 6, okay? So at the end of chapter 6, we had Heathcliff and Catherine. They were going to spy on the other kids at the other estate, because they knew like they were bratty children and blah, 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 blah. So they get to this other estate. They get caught spying because Catherine gets her foot bitten by their dog. The people of that estate send Heathcliff home. They're like, you're not welcome here. Go home. But Catherine gets to stay there. And if you're thinking, oh, that's so sweet, she stayed there, they bandaged her up and whatever. Miss Girl stayed there for 5 weeks without going home. 5 weeks. I don't know how old they were at that point in time, but I know their parents had passed away, but I still feel like they were too young. That's weird. Anyway, but then they send her back. So she comes back right before Christmas, and she's all clean and proper. They taught her manners, and they even mentioned how her skin had been cleared up because she hadn't been out in the sun so long, things like that. And she's like, better than thou kind of vibes now. So she comes home and she sees Heathcliff, and Heathcliff is looking pretty bad. And she notices that her brother has been kind of treating him really poorly. Her brother wouldn't even let him go to school, wouldn't let him eat. Her brother told them not to even serve Heathcliff. Like, that's how much he hated Heathcliff. And at first, Catherine was a little standoffish, but then she was like, I feel like she felt sorry for him. I don't know. I don't see any kind of romance thus far in the book, but I do see, it feels like it's going to be a toxic situation. Anyway, also, let me find that little line on chapter 7 where he says, this is Heathcliff talking. He says, I'm trying to settle how I shall pay Henley back. Henley's Catherine's brother. I don't care how long I wait. If I can only do it at last, I hope he will not die before I do. And I hope he does. And I hope he does. Because I don't like Henley. I truly don't. I like the name Henley, but like for a little girl. But that's neither here nor there, and Beth ain't getting pregnant at all anymore. We're done. But then Nellie says, for shame, Heathcliff, said I. It is for God to punish wicked people. We should learn to forgive. No, God won't have the satisfaction that I shall, he returned. I only wish I knew the best way. Let me alone and I'll plan it out while I'm thinking of that. I don't feel pain. Drama! And then she even says at the very end, so she tries to go to bed. So that was Nellie telling the story to Lockwood, right? Remember? Okay. So then she's like, okay, that's enough for the day. I'm going to go to bed. And he convinces her to sit back down and continue the story, which is what we're going to get to in just a second, or what I'm going to get to in just a second. But prior to that, she even mentions that they have a library at the estate. And the thing is I feel like I get so much shit for the amount of books that I own. But I feel like people don't understand. Back in the backpack day, it was normal. If you had money, you had a library, okay? And that's the kind of vibes I'm going for. It also says, sorry, I'll let you get back to your business in a minute, but it also says, however, if I am to follow my story in true gossip's fashion, I had better go on. And instead of leaping 3 years, I will be content to pass to the next summer, the summer of 1778. That is nearly 23 years ago. So we're about to get into some more gossip because she herself said in true gossip's fashion. This girl, is this considered a toxic romance? Is that what genre this classifies as? Because listen, so Catherine was 14 with the whole dog bite, stayed 5 weeks at the Linton residence and da-da-da-da-da. Now she's 15, okay? And it even says here, Catherine had kept up her acquaintance with the Lintons since her 5 weeks residence among them. Blah, 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 blah. And led her to adopt a double character without exactly intending to deceive anyone. So essentially, in front of the Lintons, she was sweet, courteous, well-mannered, blah, 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 and tried not to let it slip that in all reality, back at home, back at the house with the other people, she was a rude little biatch. And at first I was like, it can't be that bad. It cannot be that bad. But then I kept reading, okay? And okay, now she is 15 and Heathcliff is 16, and Heathcliff comes home early from work because Mr. Earnshaw, the older brother, has gone out of town. And so Heathcliff is like, I'm gonna make myself, you know, cozy at home, so maybe spend some time with Catherine. Anyway, over here on this little paragraph over here, let me read it to you, or let me read part of it to you anyway. While I was assisting Miss Cathy to arrange her dress, remember we're in Nellie's perspective, she had not reckoned on his taking it into his head to be idle and imagining she would have the whole place to herself. She managed, by some means, to inform Mr. Edgar of her brother's absence and was then preparing to receive him. Was she preparing to fruck him? Is that what that means? Preparing to receive him. Edgar shows up. First off, she is a bitch to Nellie. She even pinches Nellie, okay? So she pinches Nellie. She slaps Nellie. She then starts to take her anger out on the baby. Mr. Earnshaw's wife, remember the older brother came back home with a wife? His wife wound up having a baby. Then she passed away. And so like they're kind of raising the baby all together in the household or whatever. And so Nellie winds up taking the baby and bringing him to a different room because Cathy done upset the baby. Anyway, so Edward witnesses all of this, and it kind of repulses him that she's acting this way and being mean to other people. And he kind of just like says, you know what? I'm gone. I'm about to go on home. And she punches him. Catherine punches him. She goes by Catherine and Cathy, so whatever. Anyway, she punches him. And then she starts crying. And so he winds up staying a little longer to like comfort her. And that's when Nellie's like, yeah, if you're going to stay here and comfort her, that's your mistake, buddy. You just admitted that you loved her. So Catherine is kind of in love with Edgar. Edgar is the brother from the other estate. Okay, remember the two little bratty kids? Yeah, he's a brother. Shaw, he's a Linton. So that, I guess, is how we're going to be getting a Catherine Linton. Does she marry him first and then become a Catherine Heathcliff? I feel like I'm missing something. Mr. Earnshaw, i.e. Catherine's brother, I forget his name. Is it Hadley Harrison? Something with an H. Mr. Earnshaw literally just dropped his son off the banister. What in the fuck am I reading? This is some toxic ass. First off, he gets home. This is right after what just happened, okay? He gets home and he finds Nellie in the kitchen trying to like hide the little baby from all the fucking drama that just went down. He sees the baby. The baby doesn't welcome him with open arms, so he gets all pissed off about it. First, he threatened to shove a knife down Nellie's throat. Actually put the knife up to her teeth. And thankfully she was like, I think not. Anyway, so then he grabs the little boy and like runs up to the stairs and holds him over the banister. And then as he's talking with Nellie, he gets distracted and drops the baby over the banister. And thank goodness for fucking Heathcliff, who was right there and was actually able to like grab the baby before he fell to his fucking death. What toxic bullshit y'all got me reading? I mean, I'm enjoying it. and I love gossiping about it. And I keep getting shooketh a little bit because I was expecting, I don't know what I was expecting when I was picking this up. I was expecting some kind of romance between Heathcliff and Catherine was what I thought. But though the writing in this book can be a little difficult to get through, especially because sometimes I'm like, though this sounds like it means this, does it actually mean that? Because it's, you know, you just, whatever, I'm pretty sure you understand what I'm saying. But anyway, it's also very beautiful. There are a lot of like sentences or paragraphs that I'm just like, that sounds beautiful. I don't know how to explain it. I'm sure you know, especially if you read classics, but like just this little paragraph. So in this section of the book, which by the way, I'm not gonna try to go too deep into what's going on until I figure out exactly what would be considered a spoiler and not a spoiler. I am at like 85 pages into the book. So what I've talked about thus far, I feel like is not a spoiler. You know what I mean? Okay, whatever, I digress. So this section that I'm at, essentially right after all that went down, Edgar then asks her to marry him. Okay, but times be different. I'm gonna say that. So she's talking to Nellie because she's like, she told him an answer, but she doesn't know if she did it, like if that was the correct answer. So she asks Nellie for her opinion, and Nellie's honest with her. Nellie's like, I don't think so, but okay. I mean, like, what did you tell him? How do you know that you're actually in love? Like, you literally just try to punch the man, or you did punch the man. Whatever. Anyway, this is just a little sentence from their whole conversation. No, it's a paragraph. It's more than one sentence. Whatever. It says, I see no reason that he should not know, as well as you, I returned. And if you are his choice, he'll be the most unfortunate creature that ever was born. As soon as you become Mrs. Linton, he loses friend and love and all. Have you considered how you'll bear the separation and how he'll bear to be quite deserted in the world? Essentially, she's talking about how Heathcliff is going to take the news when he finds out about this situation. And essentially, also, I really hope Catherine has some character growth in this story, because as of right now, like when Nellie's asking her about like, why do you want to marry Edgar? Like, what, like, are you actually in love? Like, why? How do you know you love him? And she's listing off the things, and it gets to the part where she's like, so essentially, if he wasn't young, attractive, and rich, you wouldn't want to marry him. And basically, Catherine says, if he wasn't young, attractive, and rich, he would be a clown. I literally just turned the page, okay? So they're still having the conversation about this and about whether or not she should marry Edgar, okay? And so she goes to talk about her love of, like, the difference, I guess you would say, between her love for Linton and her love for Heathcliff. And it says, my love for Linton is like the foliage in the woods. Time will change it, I'm well aware, as winter changes the trees. My love for Heathcliff resembles the eternal rocks beneath, a source of little visible delight, but necessary. Nellie, I am Heathcliff. He's always, always in my mind, not as a pleasure any more than I am always a pleasure to myself, but as my own being. So don't talk of our separation again. It is impractical, and then it's like, because she gets cut off. And then Nellie says to her, if I can make any sense of your nonsense, miss, I said, it only goes to convince me that you are ignorant of the duties you undertake in marrying, or else that you are a wicked, unprincipled girl. But trouble me with no more secrets, I'll not promise to keep them. I just love how messy this shit is. I think I'm going to take a break, because I am getting a little sleepy as I'm trying to read this. I also can't find my roommate. And like, I don't have a lot of stuff. I say that as I have 1,000+ books behind me. But like in the kitchen, we don't have a ton of stuff. There's no place for it to get lost. Did I accidentally, like, mindlessly throw it away? The roommate's like a little cozy type thing. Sir, for this. Anyway, I feel like I'm getting really sleepy, so I need to take a break from sitting here reading and actually go do, I don't know, walk around, wake myself up. But I know I said I wasn't really going to try and talk about much more from here on out so I don't spoil anything, but it's just so It's so messy. I need to talk about it. It's so messy. It just, I cannot wait until the new adaptation comes out. It's coming out next year, I think. And I want to say Margot Robbie is one of the main characters. I haven't looked at the rest of the cast. I'm probably going to do that in a minute. But I remember specifically her. And she's stunning, okay? Is she gonna play Catherine? I don't know. Listen to this. I am eating this book up. Like, I am obsessed with how sassy and bratty and toxic these, like, all of these characters are. So this is Catherine talking to Mr. Linton, right? Her husband. She said, I don't want you, Edgar. I'm past wanting you. Return to your books. She literally, she was gonna starve herself, you know, delete herself from the earth by starving herself because she's pissed off at Edgar. And then she changed her mind because she was like, you know what? No, that would actually make him happy. Never mind, scratch that. I'm so pissed and heartbroken, clearly. What the fuck? I was having such a good time. And what the fuck? The whole reason why I even bought this book was because I reread the Twilight Saga and it made me buy the book. And I am over here fucking heartbroken. Heartbroken. I had to take a break from the book because I couldn't quit crying. And now I'm just like, what is the point of continuing on with the book? What is the point? Am I just gonna read about, I don't even want to talk about it. If Emily Bronte was still alive, just know we would have words. Okay. So it's Friday, and I fear it is the last day of this reading vlog because I am almost done with this book. And to think, I think that had this challenge not made me pick this book out of it, or not, had I not pulled this book out of the jar, there we go, I don't think I would have ever gotten to this. I think it would probably sit on my shelves for a long time because I have been so intimidated by classics because I have been so terrified that I was going to be too dumb to understand them. And albeit when you go into the book, it is a little difficult to kind of grasp it, but it just kind of all starts to fall into place to the point where I was mid-book, I was just going. Like, I wasn't really struggling at all. Now I'm just flying through it. I don't know what it is. I'm just flying through it, and I am having a time, let me tell you. I will say, I'm in part 2 of the book. So part 1 of the book, we are, again, like Lockwood is being told by Nellie how Heathcliff came into the family and the relationships between the families and like whatever, all of that, the power dynamics and this, that, and the other and blah, blah, blah. And then now we're in part 2. I'm trying to like talk about it without really going into spoilers. And now we're in part 2 and we are getting, it's still Nellie, still telling the story, but now we are focusing on the later generation characters. So at the very beginning of the book, when Lockwood first got there, those characters, those people that were in the house with Heathcliff, at the, like the young man at the table, the young woman in there making tea, we're getting to learn about them and their relationships and how there's still a chance for them to break this generational curse of whatever the fuck happened in part 1, and how these characters, though they are still kind of caught in this emotional fallout of what came before, there's also still light at the end of the tunnel, if you will, of them, you know, breaking this toxic cycle of everything. Truly. It's kind of like the revenge, the love, the bitterness, the messiness is just passed down to everybody, kind of like heirlooms, which is bizarre to think about, but I mean, it's what's going on. And now it is their turn to figure it out and break it and form their own paths. And we're also learning more about Heathcliff and how he came to be. Like, he was the orphan that showed up, the orphan that had nobody, nothing. And now he owns both estates and has tons of money, and we're seeing how this all came, not fully how it came about, but for sure how it came with him owning both estates. Anyway, yeah, there's a lot to it, and it's crazy because it's not even like super descriptive in the sense that Nellie is telling the story of these characters, and she's skipping through, you know, like one chapter is going to be like when these characters are kids, and the next chapter it's just a day when they're 14 and 15, and the next chapter they're 21 and 22, and so you don't even get to spend a ton of time with these characters. You're only getting to see them through somebody else's eyes, essentially. But the connection that you get, and it just, I don't even know how to explain it. I just know that it broke me. And yeah, I feel like I set the stage for you. I talked about some of the characters and what was going on in this, that, and the other. But I feel like if you're wanting to really know what happens in Wuthering Heights, I think you need to experience it for yourself. And so that's why I'm not going to talk too much about the rest of this book. I do want to go back and reread it, not like back to back, but eventually go back and reread it and annotate, not like full-blown tabs and all that, just go back and underline some of my favorite like paragraphs or quotes and stuff, because boy oh boy, though like I said on my TikTok, though it feels like sometimes I'm reading, you know, hieroglyphics, it's beautiful at the same time. I don't know how to explain it. I dig it. I have officially finished Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte, and I am very sad. And it's like, this is her only book. She's not coming out with any more, obviously. And it's like sad to know that I've finished it. Like, part of me wishes I would have savored it more. Part of me actually really wishes that I would have just did a full-blown, spoiler-filled, chapter by chapter gossip and talk with you type of vlog, because oh baby, if you are a fan of toxicness in your books, okay don't say I didn't warn you. I would say at the core of this book we have obsession, revenge, and emotional inheritance to wrap it all up in a cute little bow. It's dark, it's haunting, windswept, it's messy, it's toxic, passion that is both beautiful and devastating. And these messy characters are going to do the most at all times. At all times. If you think, oh, this is just their childhood, this is just their teenagehood, they're gonna grow out of this, think again, babe. Think again. These characters are the type that are gonna do the most. I could only imagine how Miss Emily Bronte was in real life. Also, do not get attached to anyone. Do not get attached to a single character. You know, it's like that deep trauma bonding energy in a book. Man, I just want to reread it again. I want to reread it again. I was just on Etsy looking at all of the Wuthering Heights stuff and like what I could get. I was like, what if I could get like a little framed quote from the book to put on my shelf, you know, in a cute little ornate gold frame or something, and maybe like find all 500 bajillion different editions of this book. I'm for sure, like, first off, I love this edition. This is the Penguin Classics Deluxe edition. Absolutely love and am completely obsessed, and it definitely gives the vibes of the book. However, I am on the lookout for like the ultimate edition of my dreams. Don't ask me what edition it is because I don't know yet, but just know I'm coming to get you. Man, I feel like this changed my life. You ever read a book and you just feel like that? I feel like if I would have read this book when I was young, I would make this book my entire personality. I would make this book my entire, I would rebrand my channel and theme it around this book. But can you tell it's 5 stars? It's 5 stars. And I want to thank the Bookshelf Ultimatum Challenge, for giving this book to me at such a perfect time.